Hey everybody, this is Mike. I am here with Cameron Morsberger, our first ever community reporter for Needham Local. And Cameron, you've sort of been behind the scenes these first couple of months. We wanted to bring you on camera to introduce you to everybody. So thanks for being on camera for the first time.
Of course, yeah. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing a little bit about me to the viewers at home.
Absolutely. So the first question I have for you is, why did you decide to become a news reporter? Was there a specific moment where you knew what you wanted to be?
Right. Well, I always knew I wanted to be a writer because I just love telling people stories, whether real or fictional. It's just something I've always loved to do. I loved my English class. That was the class I loved in high school and throughout college. So when I went to BU to study journalism, it was just the place I knew that I wanted to be. So I kind of developed passion for it. I wrote and edited for the Daily Free Press, our independent student paper at BU, where I really honed my skills there. I like to say that I learned more working late nights and long hours in that newsroom than I did in my actual journalism classes, just because I got that hands-on experience and really developed a love for telling the community stories. So,
was there like a specific moment growing up where you knew that's what you were going to do?
I don't think so, no. I think I just did well in my English classes and decided that, this is something I wanted to do.
Well, I actually had a similar moment. Like in English class, I did a report on some sports. I did like a sports book report. My teacher was like, "Oh, you're going to go into sports broadcasting, right?" I was like, see, somebody knows. So it was probably something similar where you just sort of knew the more you did.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm a big reader as well. So it was just something I gravitated toward, and I think my parents were able to digest journalism as opposed to a degree in writing, just because that's a little vaguer. They were thinking, career, I guess,
right.
in the future. But.
Right. Now, you mentioned BU.
Yeah.
You went to BU, you worked on a bunch of things there. Were there any other like internships or jobs either before college or even during college that really helped you like hone those skills?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I developed a real passion for local reporting at my hometown paper. So as you probably know, I'm originally from Pennsylvania. So during college, I interned at the Bucks County Courier-Times, which is a little paper back home for 3 months over the summer, I think going into my senior year. And that's when I was really sure of what I wanted to do post-grad. It was awesome to explore a community that I lived in all my life in kind of new eyes as a reporter, as opposed to just someone that lives there. So that was awesome, and I got great mentorship there, and I still talk to my editor there too. It's just a great place where I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and it was a great experience.
Very cool. Now, your first job out of BU was working at the Lowell Sun. So what was it like working there, and how did it differ from what you're doing now with us here at the Needham channel, Needham Local?
Yeah, no, so the Lowell Sun was great. I was there for a little over a year and a half, first job post-grad, and it was awesome. I reported on everything as I do at Needham Local, everything from local elections, municipal meetings, interesting people, places, things. But what's interesting is it was my first job post-grad, but we didn't have a physical newsroom. So all of the staff were working remote and commuting to cover things in person. So it was very different than work here. So I think, working at the Sun and looking for a next step, I was really looking for a physical newsroom where I can have that camaraderie with my coworkers, but also really important collaboration. At Needham Local, it's not just my reporting, but we incorporate your reporting, Kristen, Yushal's work on Needham Local, and incorporate video elements as well. So it's really been cool to work with both mediums and communicate with my colleagues in person.
When you applied for the job here, our original conversation actually happened via LinkedIn. And what do you remember about that? Because you actually applied for a different position with us. Right. So what do you remember about that first conversation and how we sort of transitioned into my telling you about this job?
Right. I remember being really excited. I was looking for a way to develop more skills, specifically in TV or radio. So it seemed just like the perfect fit. I wanted to stay in Boston. I wanted to commute and be, in a suburban-ish environment doing local reporting. So I was really excited about the prospect of doing some camera work, but I'm obviously happy that it evolved into this job where I still get to be on camera sometimes, but also do the reporting that I love to do.
This is your sort of big debut on camera, which obviously that'll evolve more as Needham Local evolves. And yeah, you mentioned all the different stuff that we're doing on Needham Local. And for anyone who hasn't heard about it, just tell everybody, what it's all about and why it should interest people here in Needham.
Right, so it's a really important community local news source. We cover everything. I've been at planning board and select board meetings. I covered the special town meeting recently. So I'm all over the place. If you haven't seen me yet, you will. But yeah, we do written articles throughout the week as opposed to the Needham Channel's live newscast on Thursdays. I am reporting throughout the week, which is helpful when somebody can't get to a story on time, or if it's a really important thing that we want to get out there, you can find it on Needham Local most of the time. So yeah, it's a great resource in between the newscasts and for folks that prefer written work as opposed to video.
Right, and you mentioned the municipal stuff that you've done. I mean, you've been at the blue tree lighting, you've been at the spooky walk, you did a story about the girls swim and dive team right before they won the state championship.
Right.
So you've really done a lot of different types of stories. Now, I grew up in Needham. I learned TV through volunteering here at the Needham Channel when I was in high school. I started my sports broadcasting career in between college and grad school. And when I came back first time, I was the first person to be hired as my programming manager job, just like your position. You're the first person to be hired in this job. So I just wanted to ask you what those first few months have been like, what it's like to be in a job that no one's ever had before and that you're really starting for the first time.
Right. Well, luckily, when you start a position like this for the first time, I get to dictate the flexibility, which has been really wonderful. So I've been able to, with Mark, kind of map out how much I'll write in a week and what sort of articles will look like and everything. So that's been really awesome just to have that ability to do that. But yeah, it's been great meeting people in the Needham community. They are so friendly here and willing to be sources or point me to information. So it's been awesome getting to know everyone. And like you mentioned, there are really special traditions here in Needham, like the blue tree lighting. That's been a highlight over the last few months. But yeah, it's been wonderful. I think I lost track of how many stories I've written so far, but it's a few dozen.
It's a lot, yeah.
Which is awesome. So I mean, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, and yeah, that's all I can say about it. Everyone's been great.
You did a great story about the history of the Needham-Wellesley Thanksgiving football rivalry right before the big game that Needham finally won a game after a couple of years. Yeah. But you've really done a lot of different types of stories. Do you have any funny stories? Like whether it's memorable things that just were a lot of fun, or just really funny things that you've done in these first couple of months?
Funny things? I don't know if I have funny things. I think, oh gosh, I guess a notable thing, I guess, first starting out is I still have a 267 cell phone number, so people do not pick up my calls. I think that was a problem at my old job, and it's still a problem here. So that's one main thing, because people will send me right to voicemail, and then once I leave a voicemail, they'll call me right back and be like, "Oh, Cameron, hi, I didn't think it was you," and I have to go through the whole spiel. But yeah, no, I think that's it.
You mentioned Mark, who's been a big part of this as well. Mark Mandel, our executive director, who's been not just a big part of launching Needham Local, but he was really a big part of launching the Needham Channel as an independent, nonprofit organization back in the early 2000s. And Michael Grice and our cable board have also been very instrumental in getting this off the ground. And I just wanted to ask you, we have a lot of ideas about what we want to do with this, but for you in the position, what are your goals and what can people expect from Needham Local in the future?
That's an awesome question. I think I'm still trying to meet all of the various organizations in town. There are so many that do really great work. So I think it's just increasing coverage, creating more diverse coverage, making sure everyone is represented in our stories somehow. I think that's my main goal with all of my reporting, is just making sure I tell everyone's story and kind of represent different sides of an issue. So I think that's the overarching goal, I think, of Needham Local.
Now, you've come into our, the flow of the Needham Channel, and, you mentioned Yu Xiao Yuan, who's our municipal producer, Kristen Connors, who's our sports producer. I haven't mentioned Derek Reisner, who's actually directing this right now, who's our special projects producer. We also have Natalie Guthrie, who's our education producer. And, of course, we have Ashley Julier, who's our news producer, and really just coming in and it's not always easy to come into a situation and fit right in with everybody. But you've really done that, and I just want to know from your perspective what it's been like to work with the different personalities. I mean, you work with everybody on something.
Everyone's been awesome, and it's been cool. I remember my first few weeks kind of standing in the back room watching everyone do the newscast and clicking tons of buttons and switching. So it was really cool to be back in that environment. I did one semester at BU of TV, of a live TV newscast, which is awesome. So it was kind of like remembering different things and how to zoom in on a camera and things like that. So that's been really awesome to see, and everyone's been really willing to help me, especially Ashley has been kind of putting me in different positions, having me like overlook audio and do camera. So it's been great. Yeah.
That's actually something that anybody in Needham who wants to learn TV, they can volunteer with us, helping us out with news, sports, writing stories for Needham Local, helping out with municipal meetings or other event coverage that we have. And we have plenty of stuff coming up, so that's obviously something you can get in touch with us about. But I wanted to ask you about yourself a little bit, because we've talked about the job, we've talked about your history getting into the job, but tell me a little bit about yourself. Do you have like hobbies or favorite movies, books, music, something about your personality that you want people to know?
Yeah, I like to call myself like an arts snob. I'm a big movie fan, music fan. I go to a lot of concerts. We were just talking about the Sky Ferreira concert that I went to a few weeks ago.
My friends went to, right?
Yeah, oh, right, yeah. So that's kind of my main thing on the weekends and after work. One of my New Year's resolutions is to learn how to crochet. So I got a little crochet kit for the holidays, so I'm gonna start doing that. And I set like a reading goal for myself as well this year. I want to read 30 books. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think, that's about it.
So the last thing I just wanted to have you do is just to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. And obviously we have a lot of different ways that people can interact with Needham Local, including our newsletter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sign up for the newsletter. It's available on needhamlocal.org. That's where you'll see all of my articles, as well as some of the articles that are converted from video into written work. So check out things there. But you can also email me. My email is cameron.needhamchannel@gmail.com. It's available on the website for people looking. So yeah, feel free to get in touch if you have a story idea, if you want to write with us. That's always something that we're looking at, whether you have no experience writing or a little bit of experience, a lot of experience. We would love to kind of host your articles on our website, and I will look over them and edit them. And yeah, we're looking for volunteers, people that are interested.
And we're doing all kinds of stories. Kristen and I, we mentioned, are doing sports stories. That's something that we started in the fall, doing game stories for football. We did one for girls basketball, boys basketball. So that's ever expanding. We have a community calendar that people can send us. If they want to post an event that they're involved with, they can post that as well. So lots of different features.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what's great too is we have all different types of news sources in Needham now. It's not just us. The Needham Observer is doing great stuff too. So it's cool to see the passion for local news in the area and people's willingness to support local news too.
And that's actually something that we didn't really talk about in the beginning, is that with the the loss of a lot of the different written news sources in Needham, it was really important for us. It was really important for the Observer. It's really important for the Chamber. I know Greg Rubin from the Chamber has been doing a newsletter as well. Amy Halson has her the News You Needham. Like, we're trying to get as much news. People say, like, well, where do we find our news? How do we find out about stuff? There's lots of ways that you can find out about news now in Needham, and we're trying to be on the forefront of that.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you, Cameron Morsberger. Thank you so much for making your on-air debut with us, and hopefully we'll see lots more of you on air.
You will. Thank you for having me.